Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Nintendo and gaming podcast. My name's John. I've grown up with Nintendo and gaming for pretty much my whole life, and I'm here with George, who likes to make, play, and talk games. So, how you going?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, thank you. I've been playing games my whole life too, so
Yeah.
especially Nintendo since I was like 3.
Yeah. So I've just got a few topics here. I've got some notes. So let's just get into the first one. All right. So first one, I just wanted to talk like pretty simple and easy. We're just going to talk about the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
Um, so what'd you think of it?
Um, if I was to give it a rating, I would say a C, a solid
A C?
C, maybe a C minus.
Yeah, that makes sense. When I first watched it, I gave it a B. I even uploaded my reaction to it. Um,
hmm
but then I
Yeah, it's just
just
like it just feels like yeah, a lot of the games that were announced were I don't know, a little lackluster, and then it's just a little disappointing with like everyone knows like the Switch is coming to an end, like
yeah.
this current gen Switch. And so when they announce remakes that are not coming out till like next summer, it's like what are you doing, Nintendo? Why are you making us wait so long for a game to come out on this on the current Switch when we all know that's not gonna last too long, you know?
Yeah, it was just it was all everything Nintendo announced was just ports, some remasters, and I
Yeah.
think there was like I don't know, remakes. I don't really know how each game was classified, but yeah, it was.
hmm
I guess
I'd say there were like what like technically two remakes and a remaster. Like Luigi's Mansion
mhm,
is a remake, and then Paper Mario Thousand Year Doors a remaster,
okay.
and then Mario versus Donkey Kong is a remake. Just because of
The
it's
Donkey
a new
Kong one
engine.
seemed more of
Yeah,
a remake. Like the Luigi Mansion one
yeah.
kind of just seemed like a upres
hmm
to me, at least.
You can
Although,
kind of tell, like for the Luigi's Mansion, that they are like they remade the assets.
okay,
You can tell.
I never
But
played it
yeah,
actually, so
Mario. Oh, okay, yeah. It's like I like go if you go look at like the GameCube footage of it. Yeah, you can tell like they remade like a lot of it. Um, the Mario versus Donkey Kong definitely is the easiest one to tell that it's a remake, just because Mario versus Donkey Kong came out on the DS. So it's like, but it's not coming out till again. It's not coming out till next year. You know.
right, yeah,
So
which is really
it's like
odd.
yeah, you're gonna announce all these games, and there's nothing really for fall, winter, announced. Everything
Yeah,
was like for next year.
I feel like we can go into it later, but I don't want to talk too much
Yeah.
Switch 2 right now. But
hmm
so yeah, I gave it a B. But like seeing how
hmm
people reacted to just Nintendo showing just pretty much ports and remasters,
hmm
I guess, and like sleeping on it, I guess a C is more fitting, and that's what like most
Yeah.
people have given that even are Nintendo fans
hmm
have like have given them C's. A lot of people who are not Nintendo fans just gave it a straight up F. They did not like
I can
it.
see like if you're not a fan of Nintendo, yeah, there's nothing really there to, like pull you in. There's no, Tears of the Kingdom DLC announcements. There's really no like nothing like a lot of people bought the current Switch for to play Tears of the Kingdom this year.
Yeah.
And then
Hmm.
there's no support, there's no continued announcement other than the amiibos. But it's like, yeah, amiibos are nice, but they don't add gameplay. So it's like, yeah, a lot of people are pretty much done with Tears of the Kingdom. And it's like, you would think like right now would be the perfect opportunity to announce, oh yeah, there's DLC coming out in fall or winter for Tears of the Kingdom
Yeah.
to like keep people interested. But yeah, it's like I beat Tears of the Kingdom almost almost 2 months ago, but it's like and I want to go back in, but I'm done with the game. So it's just like
Mm,
I don't I the and it's interesting because with Breath of the Wild, I beat the game pretty quickly, like the story, but I
mm,
kept playing it for like a long period of time after I beat the
yeah.
story. And for Tears of the Kingdom, it's just like because I guess I mean this might be just because the story is more um it's actually there in the game with Tears of the Kingdom. It's like, yeah, once I beat the story, there's it's kind of just it feels like, oh yeah, the game's over. With Breath of the Wild, it was like the game's not over because there wasn't really much of a main story.
Yeah.
And so you would think that they would drop an announcement of some DLC or something, unless they're just going to pull something out like in October or November. But I doubt it at this point because September directs are their big directs,
Yeah.
for the year.
I don't see anything else.
Yeah. I mean, the only
Um,
game that I guess like that was like, oh yeah, that looks fun is like WarioWare, and then um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I know they announced like what Tomb Raider, and then they showed off the more of the Princess Peach game, but that Princess Peach game again, it's not coming out till next year. So it's like, where's the big Mario game for this year? Not there.
yeah, definitely not there.
Hmm. Yeah, and so it's like it's
But
kind of a weird. Yeah, that's usually gives a big like, okay, what's going on, Nintendo? Because usually, yeah, they have a big game for the fall winter for all Christmas is coming, so it's like you got to sell consoles. So unless they're planning on, I know like um, what Super Mario Wonder comes out right in
right, yeah,
fall,
yeah. I'm pretty happy for that.
and that looks really good, but it's I don't know if that's going to be enough to like sell
That's not moving
console like
consoles,
that
I don't
much.
think at
It's not.
all.
Yeah,
But a good seller,
it'll sell well
like
on
software.
current consoles. Yeah,
Yeah.
but a lot of people already own Switches, so it's just like there's nothing really there unless they do. Obviously they can cut prices, and that'll sell. That always moves consoles. You cut prices and a bunch of bundles, but yeah, other than that, I'm like, yeah, this direct wasn't. Yeah, it was just a lot of the time I just kind of spent not paying attention to it
Yeah,
just
there
because it
was
was like,
quite a
"Oh,
bit of
I'm not
third
really
party in
interested
it.
in that." Yeah,
But the
and
pacing was
that's
good, I thought, even though there
yeah.
wasn't anything amazing in there. But that's
I mean, the biggest announcement is definitely that Nintendo Museum, but again, a lot of that stuff is in Japan, so so it's like, I guess, yeah, it's like postpone your trips to Japan until those
yeah, and for a lot of people,
until
that's not even
Nintendo
gonna
Museum
matter,
stuff.
you know.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, yeah, look, it's awesome, but yeah, it's only it's in a different country.
Yeah, but I mean, that's we could just go to a different topic because that's pretty much it for the direct. But
Yeah.
that's pretty much we can just lead right into Nintendo and like expanding to different
Hmm.
areas of entertainment.
Yeah.
So now they've already done what a Mario movie. They've
Hmm.
worked with Universal Studios,
Hmm.
working the museum.
They're making a museum.
I'm
It's
sure
like,
there's other things I'm missing. Obviously, they have their video games for sure.
hmm,
Um,
yeah, they're definitely expanding what they do as a company, which I mean, I think most people wouldn't expect that from Nintendo, just because they've always just been very isolationist when it comes
right.
to making games, and like that's it. That's all they do, make games. And they tried making that movie. The first time they made a Mario movie was back in the 90s, right? And they had all the cartoons and stuff, but they didn't like it. They didn't like how that worked out. So I mean, waiting till now to get a Mario movie, which was really good, and so it's
Mhm.
just like, and it sold so well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
amazingly
sure
well.
there's more coming, and but that's the thing with Nintendo, and I think a lot of people uh, don't realize it unless you follow Nintendo as like a gamer, is
Yeah.
that they don't announce things like that. They don't announce things years in advance, and
They
so.
try not to. They hate it when they
Mhm.
do. They hate
Yeah,
like
having
uh
making people wait,
there's very few
and
times they announce delays.
yeah, and I think they've learned that over the years of just, like when they announced Twilight Princess, and then they kept delaying it year after year after year, and so it's like, and then they did the same thing with Breath of the Wild, right? So it's like they've done that a lot, so that I think they tend to be like, okay, we're nearing the end of whatever we're making, now we can announce it, and
Yeah.
only make people wait like a short period of time.
Like they're already
But
definitely working on the new Mario movie for sure.
oh
But
yeah,
they're not going to announce that for a while.
I know Chris Pratt already kind of leaked that, in an
Yeah.
interview, and so it's like, yeah, there's going to be tons more, and then all the rumors of a Zelda movie and other properties that are going to be turned into movies. But the strongest one right now is that, yeah, they want to make Zelda, you know, bringing that to the movie theaters.
Mhm.
But the question is, are they doing, I keep hearing both sides of like, oh, it's gonna be live action or it's gonna be cartoon. It's like, yeah, I think I'd rather prefer it being animated than live action. What do you think?
The Zelda movie?
The Zelda movie? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see a live action one. I mean, I don't yeah, I don't that doesn't really.
I-
It's always been an
Yeah.
animated
Hmm.
series. Very
And that's the
like
thing. Yeah.
anime art styles.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they could literally just go and hire Studio Ghibli to make a Zelda movie,
Pretty much, yeah.
which is
Uh
like, yeah, well, I mean, what Breath of the Wild and like Tears of the Kingdom were like heavily inspired by the
oh
Ghibli
yeah,
movies. So mhm.
very obvious.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nintendo they'll keep growing. But
Mhm.
they don't really expand that quick. They like taking things slow for sure.
Mhm.
Like there's even been some statements in one of the articles, but
Mhm.
basically I think the I think the there was some basically talks that they're not really focusing on increasing like their market cap for their
Mhm.
company or anything like that. So I mean, even though Nintendo will start going into movies or different areas of entertainment, there's not going to be they're not going to be coming out every year or every two like few years like with movies. It's still going to be a bit slow, but we should
Yeah.
eventually in the in the far future
Mhm.
be getting some more movies from Nintendo. But
Yeah.
let's move on to more recent news. I think it was just yesterday. It might have been even before yesterday, but I heard
Mhm.
about it just yesterday. The Microsoft FTC leak. I know you didn't get to look into that much, right?
Yeah, I just a little bit. I know I kind of read some of the emails, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's I mean, it makes sense, right? As far as like, yeah, like the head of another company talking about taking over another company. Yeah, it's like that's business, as they say.
Yeah, they're
But
always looking to do that, especially
yeah, but
Microsoft.
it just seems so I don't know, it just seems so like, as far as like for Phil Spencer, it just seems a little over his head as far as like acquiring. It's one thing acquiring like Activision or different studios like that, but
Mm.
Nintendo Nintendo is like a third of the entire market share, if not more of it, And as far as like consoles go, they outsell Xbox like crazy. So,
Yeah, Spencer.
especially internationally.
I think it's just because he has that Microsoft money, Even
And
though he doesn't.
that's the thing. It's like Xbox doesn't have the money Microsoft
Yeah,
does.
exactly. He just takes all this Microsoft money, even though
Yeah.
Xbox has always been losing money.
Hmm. Yeah, like Xbox has been a net loss for Microsoft, I think, from the beginning, from the first
Yeah,
consoles.
Yeah.
And like Microsoft's stance has always been that they make software before they even started going into Xbox. So when they started making the Xbox, I mean, it's just like on making hardware, it's not really their forte when it
Yeah,
comes,
yeah.
yeah, to the technology sector. And so, yeah, Microsoft excels in software as far as like Game Pass and offering all that,
Yeah, they
like,
offer great services.
yeah, the services they offer are amazing. And so, like online and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Oh,
but it's just so funny because Phil Spencer in one of the emails says that, like, oh, he doesn't believe that Nintendo's future is in hardware or something like that. And it's just like the Switch is
he
on
doesn't see
track
it
to
because
being
they're
the
not doing well.
number one. Yeah. It's like you're telling me the Switch outsells the Wii and it's on track to outsell the PS2 in lifetime. And yeah, their future's not in hardware. Hit like Nintendo
They
hit
want
the
digital so
jackpot.
bad
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
everything.
Mhm.
Which I mean, it will go there because
Yeah.
I mean, at least with Xbox, because they're already gonna. They didn't. It hasn't been clear if they're gonna discontinue the current Xbox Series X like version
Mhm.
once they come out with a free refresh, which is planned to come out like basically from a year from now. But
Yeah.
yeah, that will go all digital, that refresh version. And so if they discontinued this one, that then they just have digital consoles, which is honestly at that
Yeah.
point you might as well just be on PC.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm a pretty thorough, like, strict PC gamer, and I
Yeah.
haven't had an Xbox since I didn't even buy this new gen. I had an Xbox, oh man, Xbox One X, but yeah, I mean, since I switched to PC gaming, it kind of, I mean, I get all the same games from Xbox. I mean, because they're strictly focusing on digital and like software, anyways. So it's like, I mean, yeah, it's convenient to have a console, especially for your living room,
Hmm.
but it's just, I don't know, like going strictly digital as a PC gamer, I guess, like, yeah, I'm strictly digital, but on a console, as far as because of hard like space, you know, and that's the
Yeah,
thing. It's
yeah.
like, yeah, now they have SSDs and stuff inside the consoles, but as a PC gamer, like SSD is old school, like we use M.2 now, so it's like, yeah, load times are faster with an SSD, but you would think they would just, if they're going to go all digital, maybe that's what they're going to do is offer, oh, it's going to be M.2, and yeah, load speeds at that time are incredible. Because I know on PC, like on my M.2 for Starfield, like loading is only takes a couple seconds when I'm
Wow.
going in and out of things. But when I was tried playing on my hard drive, and yeah, it did not work.
Um,
This is lagging bad. But I can see, like, and it looks cool as far as design goes. I mean, if that is, how it's gonna look, like that's pretty cool. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's that new Xbox controller though. I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know when, because so I don't have an Xbox Series X, but I have their controller. That's the one I use for my PC. But yeah, it's like that new controller looks pretty slick. I'm not gonna lie. It looks pretty nice. I'll buy it. That's the thing with, like, for Microsoft being smart with the PC side of things. I mean, it's like supporting PC because obviously it's Microsoft. It's just like, yeah, a lot of their accessories, people, even if you're on PC, you'll end up buying it just because
Yeah.
it's not every game is optimized for mouse and keyboard. So, and I
Right.
don't really
Yeah.
want to play a lot of the games, yeah, with mouse and keyboard unless they're shooters. But it's like, yeah, a lot of third person games, yeah, I want to play with a controller.
Yeah. Their
But
controller looks pretty nice. It seems like pretty
mhm,
much they're making improvements everywhere, so that's cool.
yeah,
Um. Yeah, but I think it is interesting that they are going all digital, just because um
So let me ask,
'cause-
since they're going all digital, what do you think as far as like, and then Microsoft's, the leaked emails and their plan on their master plan that's been exposed to
master plan.
take over, yeah, to take over Nintendo. And now that that's exposed, it's just not going to happen. But
No.
um, what do you think going forward, like Microsoft and Nintendo? Like, I know they have a partnership. They already
Right,
signed a
yeah.
deal, for Call of Duty to come to the Switch for the next 10 years. Not just Call of Duty, all Activision games, right? To come to the Switch for the next 10 years.
Mhm.
And it's like, what do you think them going all digital, maybe they'll abandon hardware eventually, but it's like Game Pass on the Switch.
I think,
You
yeah, I'm
think that's
surprised
coming?
Microsoft hasn't abandoned hardware and just gone Nintendo.
Right? It just use Nintendo as their hardware.
Like, Microsoft is talking about Nintendo banning hardware. I think it's the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I don't see them sticking in the hardware
yeah,
space for too long.
and I mean, Nintendo themselves would love everything to be all digital, and make way more money from
Mhm.
that. And I think, like,
Yeah.
working with Microsoft, they're like huge on digital, so like having their
Mhm.
stuff on there, if it's like, Game Pass, I mean, that's all digital.
Mhm.
So I mean, I
And
think,
I've thought about it in the past too, as far as like Nintendo's uh just refusal to modernize,
yeah,
and so it's like they're online, they're barely like modernizing that into something that's actually pretty good. I like their online like service offerings,
mhm,
especially since they offer like that family pack and everything. You can add a bunch of people,
yeah.
and then they offer all the DLC and included in it. But yeah, I feel like Nintendo themselves would benefit so much just from using Xbox's, online services.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. The interesting to think about though is Nintendo, like, how much will they be willing to work with Microsoft now that because obviously they still will continue to work with them, but it just, now that it's kind of clear what Microsoft wants.
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean, I feel like at now Nintendo has the upper hand, right? In any
True.
bargaining and any partnerships,
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah, in one sense, you could be vindictive as Nintendo and just be like, "We're done, cancel all our partnerships, and we're never working with you again." You know, kind of like what they did with Sony, but Sony stabbed them in the back, and so it's like,
Yeah.
and that's different. Like at least everything that Microsoft has been doing and it has been increasing Nintendo's value, which kind of backfires, right? Because it's like Microsoft is like, oh well, we need to increase their market value, and then we could take them. And then it's like,
Hmm.
but it's the opposite. They're making so much money
Yeah.
that it's just gonna be impossible. Like even with Microsoft money, you can't buy out Nintendo. Nintendo's
Unless you
the
want to go
the
broke.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're gonna go broke. Oh, we'll make the money back, and it's like, well, not really, because Nintendo made that money, and I don't know if
Yeah.
Microsoft, has
Maybe
the
if they
same
put Phil Spencer
thought
in
process.
charge.
Yeah, yeah, possibly, but even then, it's just like I don't know. Like Nintendo's been the king for so long, and right, Sony kind of took that away for a little bit with the PS2, but they've been coming back, and yeah, a lot of people can be like, well, Nintendo's for casuals, but it's like not the Switch. The Switch is definitely not for casuals,
For
as far as
everyone.
like there's a lot of games on there, yeah,
Yep.
that are definitely geared towards the hardcore gamers. But and then you got like huge blockbusters that they just keep releasing, and yeah, it's just like Nintendo's not going anywhere.
Nope.
um
They've got their
and
own
Microsoft,
um
yeah,
what do they say? Like their own marketplace, they've got their own
yeah,
area
because
to work with.
a lot of people have a soft spot for Nintendo, and yeah, you got a lot of these newer gamers that don't really, I guess, grew up more with PlayStation or Xbox versus Nintendo. But even then, it's like everyone still has like a soft spot for Mario or
Yeah,
Zelda or the big games. But
yeah. Their IP is really what makes their systems most of the time.
hmm and
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like maybe Nintendo can definitely learn some things from the other companies, but they also need to like learn from their mistakes. And I mean, Sony's been dropping the ball hard this
yeah,
this console generation
for
with
sure.
PlayStation, and especially after the FTC
Oh yeah,
versus Microsoft stuff. It's like, yeah, they made themselves look so bad. So it's like, yeah, it's not looking good for Sony as far as this generation, and even with their games, because a lot of I mean, even Sony's starting to learn that uh, porting their games to PC
right.
is a huge plus.
Yeah,
Like
uh-huh.
especially since there's not that many people that own PS5s.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you get a lot more people buying your game, and
Most of their consoles are
Microsoft learned that.
expensive, you know?
Yeah, it's like I'm not. A lot of people aren't going to drop that money for a PS5, but
Yeah.
and Microsoft learned that pretty quickly too. With bringing all their games over to PC, um, starting with Halo back what like almost 10 years ago, right? So it's like
Mm,
when they started bringing Halo over to PC, and because a lot of the games used to be Xbox exclusive, and which was very surprising for a lot of people I know back when they started making a lot of Xbox exclusives that weren't coming to PC, because it's like Microsoft is a PC software company, so it's like, why wouldn't you just port it over? But
mhm.
yeah, Sony's starting to port their games over to PC.
Yep.
Xbox is started doing that where it's like all their games now come to PC for the most part, and there's a couple of games that don't come to PC, but um, the majority, like I have Game Pass on the PC, and so it's like you would think Nintendo would start like picking that up. Like, well, maybe there's
At least
some.
they're old IP or old games,
hmm
I don't know
and
why they don't
and
do that.
oh, and I mean the biggest thing too is like I know Nintendo definitely, out of the three companies that hate emulation the most, it's
Right.
Nintendo, and they crack down hard, right, on
Mhm.
that. Um, and it's like you can avoid a lot of that just by offering like PC options, right?
Yeah.
Like how they do with the virtual consoles on the Switch with
Yeah, that should just you
having,
should be able to do that on PC. Just log
yeah,
in and
and
play the games.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, I would love. I mean, a lot of PC gamers would love that. You won't be
Yeah.
able to play all those old games on the PC, like legally play them, and spend money on it. I'd
Well,
spend money
also
on it.
like
Yeah.
uh emulators usually they can have issues with certain games or whatever and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and that's a
basically
huge
what
issue, right?
Nintendo's offering is like um basically you're just giving them an easy way to play the games, you know.
hmm
So, I mean, it does work.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. Is like, um, if Nintendo were like to just start being like, okay, yeah, we're porting over all our Switch games, a lot of our like big Switch games over to PC. But yeah, you have to have a Nintendo Online account, right? Like do it like Game Pass.
Yeah.
The Nintendo Online account, you have to download our proprietary like launcher, and
Mhm.
then and you can play all you can buy games through their Nintendo eShop in there and everything, and then just do cross saves right
Yeah.
over to the Switch.
Yeah,
And
I
that's a
mean,
big thing because, like, look at the Steam Deck, right? A lot of people that buy the Steam Deck buy it because sometimes I don't want to, like, as a PC gamer, I don't want to sit at my desk and play a game
mhm.
for a few hours when I can just sit on the couch or in my bed,
Yeah.
and play it there. And so
I
that's
mean,
the beauty of the Switch.
oh yeah, and I mean Nintendo's even gone already into the mobile hardware. So why don't they just
Yeah,
go on to PC? You know,
exactly. It's like
and
it's a
again, it doesn't
win-win
have to
and
be their most recent games that they have on their
mhm.
current gen system. You know, it can come
Yeah.
out a few years later or whatever. You know,
And that's why I always say it's like there's no downside for them to do that. It's just a win for them.
yeah.
It's just yeah, it's like make some more money. You get people, "Oh, well, you're being greedy because we can just use emulation." But it's like, no, but there's a lot of services that you get offered, through it and bonuses and cross saving to your Switch and yeah, it's a huge bonus. But yeah, in general, it'll be a win-win. I I, at least that's my opinion.
I don't think
Would
Nintendo.
Nintendo ever do it? I doubt it. I'd be pleasantly surprised if they ever announced something like
It
that.
just, I guess it just depends on like where the market goes, right? Um,
Hmm.
but
But they've been working with Nvidia a lot, right? And
yeah.
so it's like, yeah, it's like their partnership with Nvidia, and it's I don't know, and then their partnership with Microsoft,
Hmm.
it's just like
They're
you can
both big in
tell that
PC.
yeah, you
Nvidia
can
makes
tell
their
that there's
GPUs,
been
and Microsoft does all the software
hmm
stuff. So,
yeah. I don't know. I can tell that there's going to be,
and both
especially with the
companies
new
are big into
president of
AI.
Nintendo. Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if AI is going to be a huge feature in the future for Nintendo. I can see that.
Well,
I can see that being
we
something.
might as well just go into the next topic. Switch to
Yeah.
DLSS for from Nvidia for sure.
Yeah.
There's
And
already been
that's
reports on
yeah.
that, so it's pretty much guaranteed.
And it's already been like basically confirmed, right? Like the
Yeah.
Switch itself uses DLSS. So it's like the upscaling and especially in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, it's like the most noticeable ones
Well,
that
it
use
uses
it.
FSR. I know that. I
Hmm.
don't. I don't think it uses DLSS like Nvidia's stuff, but it does use
Hmm.
upscaling for sure.
Yeah, and
Cause
you would think that like working with Nvidia, that's the thing they're working with, like Nvidia having that contract to make all the chips. It's just like yeah, you would think that like
Nvidia's really making sure to get a good deal with Nintendo in terms of
hmm
like they want to keep their
law,
partnership going.
yeah. Yeah, I mean they make so much money off the Switch, right? And
Yeah.
that's the thing is like the uh the Switch itself um used it wasn't a custom chip. It
Hmm.
wasn't a custom processor or custom GPU that they used. It was a modified Tegra X1.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
that
so
was
it's
another chip.
like yeah, Nvidia was just kind of like, well, we'll go with cheap and low risk.
Yeah.
And then the Switch is the number one selling console of this generation. And it's like, yeah, I think at that point um Nintendo's probably like, yeah, we can go bigger with we have a winning model now.
Yeah. Hmm.
Go bigger with it. And Nvidia's like, well, we definitely splurge on making some really good stuff for you,
Yeah.
just to up the ante on it. I
Well,
mean,
yeah. I mean, they have it. Like they have it for their own GPU, so might as
yeah.
well have it for Nintendo for sure.
So I wouldn't be surprised if yeah, because a lot of people I know were speculating on what kind of chipset is going to be using
Hmm.
Tegra X3 or something else and something that's already in their market. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a completely custom chip specifically for the Switch for what Nintendo wants.
Yeah, it's
And
not really
yeah.
clear on like what chipset they'll use, but um, what is pretty clear is that it'll at least run DLSS and like I think ray tracing.
Yeah. But not
Um,
just DLSS, it's DLSS 3, right? So it's
yeah,
like
it is. Yeah, right.
3.5.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so it's like that's their newest version, right? And so it's like
yeah, they're two newest
for
versions.
the
Yep.
yeah, for if the Switch is running DLSS 3.5, 4K gaming's a given. Like
Yeah,
they're gonna give us 4K at 60 FPS. But the
yeah. Most games will hit 60 FPS for sure.
yeah, on in docked.
Right.
Handheld, I I think they'll probably just, I don't know if they would do a 1080p screen. Be
That
awesome. Be cool, but
I just don't. I don't know about the battery stuff. I think
mhm,
I don't know how if have like have batteries even gotten better
mhm.
compared to when the Switch came out?
Well, you think about it, like the Switch came out in 2017,
Yeah.
right? The beginning of the year in March. Um, which means that the battery, all the stuff in it is from 20, at least 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
And so, and even then it's probably a little older. Like
Mhm.
it's not like especially in Nintendo, it's not like they put brand new state of the art stuff in their consoles. Like usually they don't do that
Because like
because they want to
even in
make a
handheld
profit.
mode, some
Hmm.
games wouldn't even hit 720p on the current Switch.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
what I was thinking, like, I think it would be fine for them to stay 720p just so they can keep the battery life
Hmm.
good, and then also like it's not as hard for studios to keep their games running from dock to handheld, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And obviously with DLSS 3.5, that'll help a lot.
Yeah.
Um, just going from handheld to docked and the upscaling and all of that.
Well, I
Um,
mean, they definitely could do 1080p. It's just I don't know if
mhm.
obviously
I
we don't
don't.
know the ins and outs, but
Yeah,
it's just if it's feasible for Nintendo, which
yeah.
with the battery life, I think that's just the main thing. It depends on that.
Hmm. Yeah, the battery life
So they
and
don't want to be like the Steam Deck where it lasts an hour.
yeah. I know they pride themselves on, 3 hours of Tears of the Kingdom, right?
Yeah,
And
I
so it's
think
like,
as if they
yeah.
can get 3 hours, I think they'll go for it
Hmm. And
because
and
that's what
that's
they
the
did with
thing.
the
It's like,
Switch.
yeah, I know 720p looks great on handheld.
Yep.
Like you don't need, when you have such a small screen, you don't need higher resolutions than that. A lot of phones I know have, like my phone, I think has like it's 1440p.
Hmm.
But even then, it's like you don't really it. What you need is the frame rate.
Yeah.
720p at 60 looks really good. So it's like
Yeah.
when it's running smooth, it looks really good. And then
Yeah.
the screen type itself, it's like, okay, are they going to go use OLEDs again, or are they going to
Right.
use
Yeah.
something newer, screen technology? There's been a lot of advancements in screen
Hmm.
technology, and so it's like, okay, what are they going to use? But it's all speculation right now until we get
Yep.
finally an announcement, right? So it's like you can speculate all day long, and then the end of the day be completely wrong. I mean, people
Yeah.
were wrong about the Switch the first time when it was
Yeah.
just known as the what was the code name for it? It was like
But the NX.
NX, right? Yeah. So it's like I remember the lead up to the Switch announcement. There were some leaks that were like it's gonna be a hybrid, and then there were so many
Mm.
YouTubers who were like,
It's a
"There's
4K
no way."
system.
Yeah, there's no way Nintendo would ever make a hybrid console. Like, why would they do that? They're gonna kill off their handheld console. Like that's not gonna happen. Like they're gonna keep making handhelds and uh, you know home consoles separately. And it's like
Hmm.
I remember when the first trailer came out. It was like November 2016, and it was just like it's a hybrid.
Yep.
And
They
all
just
the
dropped that
YouTubers
trailer.
that were like, "That's not gonna happen," were like
There's
just
they when it
shocked.
was revealed, they said it wasn't gonna do well.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of those guys were like, "There's no way Nintendo. This is the biggest mistake they've ever made." Uh, yeah, no one wants a hybrid. And I just remember thinking I was still in the military at the time, and me and
Mm.
a bunch of my buddies that we were watching the we were in training at the time, and we were watching the trailer, and we were like, "Oh man, this is gonna be great because we can actually play Mario Kart at work now." Sitting 12 hours in a vehicle in the middle of nowhere, it's like, yeah, I want to be able to play Smash Bros. Or Mario Kart, while I'm sitting there, and
Yeah.
or Zelda, so it's like,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
Nintendo's
it
next
was great.
system will do well.
Hmm.
Really, like the specifics don't really matter as long as they have their IP, which they do. So,
Yeah.
and
And
it's
that's the
all on
thing,
one
right?
system now.
Yeah, it's great, and it's like, yeah, getting all the Fire Emblem games on a home console now.
Yeah.
Because for a while it was just strictly a DS, and so
Y-
it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
getting all those DS, 3DS, like Pokemon, all this stuff on a home console with nicer graphics and just higher quality in general. It's always great. Pokemon's a little,
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing.
It's just the studios need to
Catch up
modernize.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny because so many people complain about Pokemon,
Yeah.
especially the most recent releases. But
Mhm.
you know, my daughter loves it, and she never complains about it at all. She just plays it all day
Yep.
long. So it's like, yeah, I don't think we're older, we're more cynical, and we're spoiled by higher frame rates.
Yep.
And yeah, the younger kids, they don't care. They don't care. It's fun to
Yeah.
them. It's still fun, and that's the thing. You
Yep.
get older, and
That's why it sells.
it's just like, yeah, exactly. It's like if people didn't like it, they wouldn't be buying it, but they
Yeah.
still buy it. It's still Call of Duty every year.
Yeah. But
I can complain about Call of Duty every year, but at the same time, I still end up buying it every year. Almost every year. I didn't buy it for a couple of years, but
mm, yeah, now it's
yeah,
coming
but
to
the good
Switch.
ones. Yeah, now
Yep.
it's coming to Switch, so it's like, come on,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll
Yeah.
have it on PC and Switch. Yeah, so it's like,
Yeah. Regardless
but
of what happens, it should do well.
yeah, um,
Now, will it sell more
but
than
as far as
Switch?
like, yeah, Switch 2 though, like, yeah, I mean, the president of Nintendo already said like they're sticking with it, right, with the
Yeah.
model.
They want to
Like
keep their
it's,
momentum. Is what he
hmm
was basically
and
saying.
so it's like, and they gotta be smart with. I don't. Are they gonna call it Switch 2 at this point? I wouldn't even be surprised if they called it Switch 2 just to avoid confusion, like with the Wii and Wii U.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I was thinking. And then other
mhm.
people were saying the Super Nintendo Switch, like call back to the
Yeah,
NES. But
and that would be cool
I
too
think that
because
would be
it's,
good
yeah,
too.
mhm,
They've never done a
yeah.
number, so we don't know if they do that. But I mean, one thing I did notice in the direct is the
Mhm.
Luigi's Mansion port. They didn't call it Dark Moon at all. They called it Luigi's
Yeah,
Mansion 2.
yeah, that's true.
I
Hmm.
think they did that mainly because they wanted to pull sales from Luigi Mansion 3. They wanted to make it clear that this is, connected. Like this is the game
Yeah,
before that one.
hmm,
So, and they're both pretty
yeah,
similar in terms of gameplay, so and
hmm,
art style. So,
yeah,
so
that's
I don't
true.
really think it indicates like they're gonna call it Switch 2, but I was
Yeah.
kind of pointed that like, maybe, but
Hmm.
you know,
But I have
w-
seen like some people with their concerns, right? Of, oh, if they're just sticking with the hybrid model and they're not going to be innovative anymore. And it's just like, I don't know, because they can stick with it and they can make it more powerful and they can focus on that, like how they did it with the GameCube, right?
yeah,
Going from the Nintendo 64 to the GameCube, and it's like
they've
a lot
done
of
it
people don't
before.
even
Not
remember like the GameCube being the most powerful system at the time, right? So it's
yeah,
like, yeah, I don't know if that like destroys innovation though, because it's like, obviously they're going to innovate on the Joy Cons and the
right,
hybrid model in general, but with
yeah,
like if we were talking about AI, Nintendo, I mean the rumors, right, of
yeah,
like there being some AI tech that they're going to be using for gaming, for gameplay purposes and stuff on the console itself. I mean, I yeah, I mean there's, at this point I've learned being a lifelong Nintendo fan is that I we can never predict what Nintendo is going to come up with as far as like new features
Yeah.
or a new gimmick, right? They always
Mhm.
have a gimmick. And it's like the gimmick that they had for this one, they didn't really use that often, which was very, I don't know, they kind of ditched it, was the IR camera, right?
Yeah.
On on the Joy-Con,
Yeah,
and
it's
that
on
would
the
have been
right
so cool. And
Joy-Con.
yeah, and the HD Rumble.
Yeah,
I
they didn't
wanted
use
that
that.
used more. Yeah, they didn't really use that, and so it's kind of like, oh man, I feel like that's
I even tried
failed
HD
opportunity.
Rumble. Like I got one two Switch
Hmm.
recently,
Yeah,
and I actually didn't really think it was like anything uh like crazy, or it did work, but it wasn't like super immersive or anything. Like there still
yeah,
needed to be some advancements with that for it to actually
hmm,
feel like you're actually like holding an object or something like that.
yeah.
But I mean,
I know there's pens out from Nintendo that they've been working on some tech for the touchscreen and
mhm,
HD Rumble to like make it more immersive, like have the feeling of water on a touchscreen or like,
mm,
you know, actually feeling like something. But then it's like the question is, or are they going to go the VR route, right? Like I know they had some testing,
with Labo.
some yeah, with Labo of like the VR, and I know like you could play Breath of Wild in VR,
Yeah,
and so it's like I never tried it, but
neither did I. But
yeah, it's like, well, are they gonna go that route though of like adding actual like a VR, like true VR to the next
I
Switch? Um, I don't know.
I don't
Like
really
that's the
know.
thing. It's like
But
yeah,
what
it's
I do
like
know is like you said, we're not gonna be able to predict what their like
hmm,
gimmicks and stuff are. But what I will say is they're not abandoning the hybrid. So whatever
yeah,
they're putting on this next system, it's basically an addition to the hybrid model. You know.
hmm,
So
yeah. Everything will work with as far as with the hybrid model, and
yeah.
it's like yeah, that's gonna be Nintendo going into the future for the next I don't know how long, but it's like at least for the next decade. If
Mm,
we've learned anything from the Switch life cycle, it's like yeah, Switch 2 is gonna be out for for a long time before we ever see another. We'll see. We'll see another like yeah, Switch Lite versions, like variety as far as like they're different versions of Switches with
yeah.
the Switch 2, but um maybe another 10 years or so. If they
Mm.
do launch it next year, we probably won't see a Switch 3 until 2034. So
It'll be a lot
which
later.
is crazy to think about, but
That will be the case most likely. But yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
But I
that's
mean they had what Unreal Engine 5, right?
right.
Supposedly behind closed doors showing that off. DLSS 3.5,
Yep.
4K, 60 FPS,
Yep.
like so it's yeah, it's like for those people that were like, yeah, I want the Switch to be more powerful and I want it, my games to look better and run better. It's like, yeah, we're gonna get that.
Yep.
And so, and
In
a
terms
lot of
of
people, yeah,
in terms of like
you know, mhm,
raw power,
yeah,
what it looks like is basically you can't expect anything more than Xbox Series S. Like it will be less powerful than that, most likely.
and I think
In
most
the
people would be
broad,
fine with that.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it'll have
I think like yeah,
DLSS, you know,
hmm,
so and all the
I
other
mean
modern
yeah,
features. So it'll be a modern console. So
because I'll say like going from PC to my Switch and like back and forth, sometimes it is a little bit jarring just from the frame rate. And
right,
so it's like and it takes me and it's not like it takes me forever to like adjust, like have my eyes adjust to it. But it is a little bit at the time like there's something like nauseating of like low frame rates or frame drops. And so it's like I think a lot of gamers, especially like non-PC gamers, but they play on like Xbox or PlayStation, yeah, are pretty used to 60 FPS at this point,
Oh
and so
yeah,
it's
they
like,
won't. I've like a lot of
mhm,
people will say like they won't play anything under 60.
mhm, and it makes sense. 60, I feel like is should be standard, like
Yeah,
industry standard at this point,
basically
and
kind of like
so,
how 1080 has been
mhm,
pretty much the gaming standard for sure.
yeah, because I'm spoiled. Like, okay, like on PC, like I still play on 1080p monitor. I don't really like playing on higher monitors than that. I mean, eventually probably get like a 1440p, but
Okay. Hmm.
um, yeah, my frame rate that I play at usually is 240. So it's like, but yeah, like when it drops below 60, yeah, I can tell. Like
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
eyes hurt, but but yeah, it's like the switch to um yeah, being at like an Xbox Series S level, like
Yeah. And broad
yeah,
terms,
it's
it will
not.
be around there. Yeah, for sure.
That's the thing most people don't understand. Even if it's just Xbox One X, like last gen
Okay. Yeah.
level, like even if it's like, oh, that's the power
Like
level of it.
PS4 Pro, you're saying, kind of like that.
Yeah, yeah. Even if it's just that, that'd be so impressive
Yeah.
on a hybrid.
Yeah. I one point I wanted to bring up. I don't remember where I heard
Mhm,
it, um, but one of the main points of like why the Switch sold well was because like people were coming from the 3DS, and that was like 360p,
mhm.
240p,
Yeah.
and then they go to the Switch, which is modern graphics. It's
Hmm.
at around 720p on handheld, and you got 1080p on docked, and you can have
Hmm.
it all on one system. So you didn't have to compromise. So it was just like it was a no brainer for at least the people who played like 3DS.
Yeah,
And 3DS did sell well.
it did. Yeah,
It didn't sell
I
like
had one.
crazy numbers, but
Hmm.
uh, it didn't. At first, it was having a hard time, but eventually, it did get
Hmm.
out there. So
Yeah, and then when the price cuts happen, because then they launched the new 3DS,
yeah. Hmm.
and yeah, I went and bought one
Mm.
quickly because they they ported a bunch of games over. I mean, Ocarina of Time,
Yeah. Hmm.
Majora's Mask. They had some good. Link Between Worlds. It's like
Yeah, there were a lot of good games on there.
so many good games on there. Yeah, all the Fire Emblem games, and it's just really good as far as like library of games. It had better library than the Wii U.
Mm.
So it's just like, yeah, there were more games on the 3DS than on the Wii U that were actually like appealing. But
Yeah,
um
Nintendo, I think, has always realized that they've always been in the handheld market. Like they do better in
mhm,
there.
yeah, and now they have both. So
Yep.
it's like in one. So that's a plus. But I know according to the rumors, they showed ray tracing,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like, yeah, with DLSS 3.5, like ray tracing on a Switch, yeah, that's insane. Like
Yeah, and your
so,
little portable system. Like no one ever
yeah,
that wasn't happening, 10 years ago.
it wasn't. And so it's like, yeah, Nintendo, I think is on the right track, and I feel like whatever the gimmicks are or anything on the Switch too, it's like in the more basic sense of like what the console can do, um, I honestly I don't think if anyone will be disappointed
No.
because it's definitely not going to be like even the power of the Switch 2 is going to be more powerful than the current Switch.
Yep.
So it's like any upgrade to it is going to look really good.
Yeah. There's not yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it for the discussion, but I guess one other thing I wanted to talk about was like the price point of the Switch too.
Yeah.
Um which I think $400 just makes the most sense for sure.
I can see that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do 350. And just because of
Yeah, if they can
I
achieve it for
know,
sure.
yeah, because I know with inflation and everything, but Nintendo's been pretty good about trying to keep their prices down.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, and so it's like I
And
feel like they're probably targeting like a launch at 350, and then because then they can price cut the Switch
I think
and down to 150, 200, and yeah.
I think hopefully, I mean, it
Oh,
just
let me look it
depends
up
on
right
what
now.
like they do for like
Hmm.
their gimmicks and stuff, but I don't think they'll
Yeah.
keep the IR camera and like maybe HDMI Rumble, but not the IR
Hmm.
camera for sure. I don't think they'll keep that.
They're probably gonna ditch that. Yeah.
And then if they do other smart decisions like
Mhm.
in terms of
Well,
being
I
cost
mean,
effective, they can 350 could be possible, yeah.
yeah, but you saw okay in the Nintendo Direct, WarioWare
Mhm.
was using the for one of their mini games. It uses the IR camera, which I thought was hilarious, just because it's like we haven't really seen that being used too often. So
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, but yeah, they'll probably end up ditching it. Okay, so the OLED model is 350 right
Yeah.
now.
Mhm.
And so I feel like Switch 2 will probably be at 350, and they'll cut the OLED model down
Yeah.
to 300
I
or
think
yeah.
I think that they'll do price cuts the moment either when they announce it or when they release it, you know? Cuz
Yeah.
I think it's kind of the thing where um
Hmm. Or they could do what they always do in the past, which is they price cut it, wait a couple months, and then announce, because they don't want to cut into their sales.
mm,
And so it's like, yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if fall, winter, they announce price cuts for all the Switch models, and it sells a ton.
yeah.
And then after that, like that initial like quick buy of like people going out and buying Switches because they're so cheap, and it's like, oh yeah, and there's a Switch 2 coming out.
Yeah.
And I just bought an OLED model this year, but it's like, oh man, like yeah, March is what some people are saying. March 2024 probably be the
Yeah.
Switch 2
I think
released, but
it what I think is it'll be announced early uh next next year, and then it'll be released sometime the later second half, something like that.
yeah,
But I mean,
I'm starting to. Personally, I'm thinking that they're gonna just copy what they did with the Switch, right? Drop a trailer in November, show it off a little bit in December at the Game Awards, do a huge press thing or like that huge direct in January,
mhm.
and then yeah, and then it's like then drop it March. But
They there has been reports that they if they can they will release it sooner.
yeah,
So I think it's just whenever they're
and
ready.
it'll come out with a brand new Mario 3D Mario game
Yeah. But
and Tears of the Kingdom DLC. I know they already said, "Oh, we're not planning on doing Tears of the Kingdom DLC," but you never trust Nintendo. Like
yeah, they
they
can't
always
even
say
say
something, and
anything anyway. They just have to
yeah.
give a broad statement.
Hmm. So it's like, yeah, they'll huge Tears of the Kingdom DLC and be like, "Oh, if you buy it, with the new Switch 2, you can play in 4K, 60 FPS," and it's like, yeah, that's a big seller, of like, oh yeah, you get it. Well, I mean, they according to right the leaks of at Gamescom, they were
Yeah.
showing off Breath of the Wild and 4K 60 FPS,
Yep.
um, and with ray tracing.
Mhm.
It's just crazy,
Oh yeah.
but
What
it's like,
one other thing is like the backwards compatibility. Like I don't know like the technical side of it, but or like if it's possible or whatever. But like if you can have old games just running with DLSS and
Hmm.
you already have a 4K, upgrade
Yeah, because
from
it'll
your old
probably just be
games.
like a little software update, and then well, there was that guy on 4chan and that said, before the Pokemon Direct,
Oh, right.
that they were, yeah, that like said, oh, there's gonna be DLC and like said who the legendaries were gonna be and what the DLC was gonna be, and it came out, it all came true.
Hmm.
He was 100% accurate, but he also said that he was because he was working for one of the studios. He said that they were working on a graphics
Right.
update for the next Switch, right?
Hmm.
For Pokemon. So it's like, yeah, yeah, I wouldn't really be surprised if a lot of other games are also being prepped for that. Of so let's release a patch and boom, now it runs a lot better on the Switch too.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
there's a lot they can do. It's pretty exciting,
hmm.
but I think
Yeah,
we've talked about that pretty well.
yeah.
So I think that we just reached the hour and minute mark. So
Oh wow.
I think that's pretty good for first first podcast. I mean, there's plenty of
Yeah,
other topics I could have talked about, but it's pretty good.
yeah. There's plenty of other times to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, George, for coming on
Yeah,
and
of
talking with me
course.
and helping me out.
Hmm.
Just start something.
Yeah.
We'll have to
Yeah,
figure
it's
out a
fun.
name.
Yeah, it has to be yeah, it has to be a real catchy one. I'll help you out with it. I'll think of some things. But yeah, it's always pretty nice to talk about this stuff. I mean, we talk about it a lot like not recorded. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like why not just record it,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
people like it. So, all
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you,
And
George.
it's fun.
We'll have to
Yeah,
talk some other time. All right.
definitely.